Hello, it's Bo Vogelai, back with part 2 of 4 with our Fireside Chats. To briefly recap part 1, I started with a big overview of the topics to be explored. What do people need? What do people want? And what schools in my area can start to do about it? I left you with talking about the power of the team. Decisions teams within our schools can make. In my experiences, best ideas do not come in isolation. The work we're doing now is more challenging than it's ever been. And I think our best chance to meet every student is to do it in groups, focused on student achievement. What are we addressing today? How does the superintendent support the development of culturally responsive practices among teachers and staff so they are able to recognize, confront, and alter instructional biases of student marginalization, deficit-based schooling, and low expectations associated with race, class, culture, and language, gender and sexual orientation, and disability or special status? The first thought that I have after reading this is reading and following Dr. Anthony Muhammad. And in one of his speeches, he talks about how you have to identify the elephant in the room that's getting in the way. Maybe there's elephants that's getting in the way of schools from reaching their desired state or the outcomes. And in one of the schools he taught in, it was race. I've been in a school where that has been one of the elephants in the room. It wasn't the majority, but that demographic or certain demographic was underachieving. So taking this back to teams and where we left off last week is what can we start to do about it? If things are going to get in the way that come with biases and students that may be more at risk, we have to eliminate barriers. So the example that I shared about before was grading success. Think of success criteria with the drywall example influenced by Adlai Stevenson's high school's book, Pathways to Proficiency. But I want to take it a step further. That step is if we're preparing students to be self-reliant learners or to take accountability for their gaps and give them the tools to investigate how to improve on those, what tests and experiences really happen after high school? I like to use one example that happens during high school. Different states have different ages students can begin to drive. My state in South Dakota, we're moving the age back. I like to use the driver's license test as an example, and it's not only because I did not pass it the first time. But when I didn't pass it the first time, I knew exactly what it was that I needed to prove on to pass it the second time. Did I get an F and did it stay with me for the semester? And then I had to retake all of my driving experiences again? No, I was given the opportunity to take the test. I was given the opportunity to show what I knew, and show what I could do. And I think of the 4 critical questions. What do we want students to know? And what do we want students to be able to do? The 2 that follow that are based on students' result. What do we do when they have not learned it? What do we do if they have? All of those are we. So in schools, to take this example and take it to the next step, teams must take down barriers that exist and get in the way of measuring student achievement and growth. If grades have too much behavior and compliance, we are not measuring learning. So why is it that why can't we take a group of English teachers in our school and develop the best test we can? Something that has high expectations for those elephants in the room, whether it's race, whether it's a disability. High expectations for all. Maybe the assessment is only 48 questions and they got to demonstrate thinking and knowledge and problem solving skills. The best idea is going to come from more than one adult. We know this. And so you develop this assessment, and the students take it, and 4 critical questions come up. And after the second one, we found out the students didn't learn it. What can we do now? Let me ask you, can we explore retaking that very well-written assessment and grades no longer being permanent in the calculator with averages, but now give the student a score based on what they were able to show 30 days later? Oh, Mr. B! You got to teach students how to be accountable. Oh, have you ever known anybody that's failed a praxis test? I have. And I know people who do. And how does that work? 30 days later, you get to try it again. Were you held accountable for the first time you missed it? Maybe you didn't know. Can we apply this in schools? And does it help us measure student growth in learning, achievement, over behavior and compliance? I believe it does. In part 3, I'm going to share with you a model